Hello folks, R1 here. This video is eventually going to wind its way around and be about the M24 Chaffee. But we're not going to start out with that. We're going to start out with the plain Jane M4 Sherman. This particular match is going to cover a few different things, and things like this. That fella may not have seen me, but I really don't think that's the case. He's still flooring it, trying to just shove my tank out of his way, bullying his way on through. Thanks a lot, buddy. I won't name names, but there it is, right there on the screen. You're a jerk. But, to make up for it, my other teammate here immediately hooks me up with his new tow cable and pulls me back upright again. And I think that's probably one of the cooler additions that came in this last patch. You see, up until now, the only thing players have had to do with each other is basically shoot them. But now they actually have the opportunity to help their teammates in a very direct way. Gaijin has caught some flack for this mechanic. They've been accused of simply, rather than fixing the problems that certain tanks have with their physics and flipping too easily, that they've just glossed it over with this mechanic to allow the players to fix the problem for them. Well, that's a little bit silly. It was far more work for them to institute this tow cable mechanic than it would have been to simply play with the physics a little bit universally. But it's added an interesting dynamic to the game, the ability to directly assist your teammates, and I think that's excellent. So anyway, I'm going to continue with this match in the Sherman and do, well, pretty much everything wrong. I'm sitting out in the open. I'm not taking advantage of cover very well. But I've got so many juicy targets that are just sitting tantalizingly out of reach. I'm just not paying attention to how I should be playing this particular tank, including that Stoog down there. He's just rolling right down the center of the road without a care in the world. But we're going to teach him the error of his ways. But as I say, I'm really not playing the Sherman right in this case. I should be taking far better advantage of the cover around me. The Sherman is a great all-around tank, but it is not a powerhouse, and it definitely can't stand there and slug it out with a lot of the other tanks on the field. It just can't take hits that well, and it has too many glaring weak points. Its ammo racks, for one thing, are very easy to spot and take out. It needs to make effective use of cover, one way or the other. But that being said, my team, whoops, almost rammed that guy and knocked him over. That would have been embarrassing, considering my complaints about the same behavior from another teammate just a minute ago. But the team is playing very aggressively this round, and we are pushing hard. So perhaps I can be forgiven for kind of steamrolling on ahead with the rest of the tide. We have already captured the northernmost capture point, B. They have the southernmost one, C. A is in the middle, and it's being contested right now. And I'm kind of in a hurry to get there and throw my weight in on our side. And I spot this little Zis over here in the corner, and it didn't occur to me at first, but I think he's stuck on that slope. Now you see, if you had a team that was willing to help you out with the tow cable, they could have pulled you off of that. Haha. Well, anyway, he had to die. So, he's dead. My team is laying in very effective covering fire. It's going right over my head, a little too close for comfort at times, and covering our advance down this terrain for the capture points. I'm going to segue over here to the left and just make sure that we don't get flanked. I see somebody down there. Oh, it's a Stoog. And I'm going to lay in a few shots into him. It's kind of difficult for the gun on the M4 to penetrate a Stoog at this sort of angle, though. If I had a clean side shot, it'd be another story, but with him angled like that, I'm just not going to be able to do a whole lot. It's not, of course, going to keep me from repeatedly trying to hurt him. It's just not going to pay any dividends this time around. There's also a KV-1 down there. I'll try my luck with him, slap a shot into him. It doesn't seem to bother him a whole lot, which is true to form for a KV-1. And before I can get lined up for more than just a glancing second shot, he ducks down out of sight, which is probably what I should be doing right now. There's a lot of fire coming in just over my head. So I'm going to see what's going on over the lip of this ridge. And a pitched fight's going on between my team and a couple of KV-1s. Uncharacteristically, my first shot takes out one of the KV-1s right off the bat. And I'm going to slap some shots into the second KV-1, but he's acting a little bit more traditionally. What I've come to expect from KV-1s. It can take a lot of these smaller caliber 75, 76 millimeter shots and keep right on going. I managed to get in a good critical hit on him though, and I'm taking heavy fire from an anti-aircraft vehicle. He's probably not going to do me much harm, but I don't want to sit there and just take it in the teeth like that. I look at him and he ducks out of sight. So I'll turn back to polishing off the KV-1, and we're bumping round after round into this guy, and he just won't die. This happens sometimes with KV-1s. It's sometimes hard to find the sweet spot to take him right on out. And they can soak up a lot of punishment. I kind of felt bad. This guy's just got to sit there and take this pummeling. His cannon's blown off. But finally I'm going to find the right spot and put him out of his misery. Now it's right about now when my overly aggressive play style in this particular match is going to catch up with me. I push down on really the wrong side of this ridge. My plan is to interdict the enemy as they come up from their spawn point down there, and I'm thinking I'm going to use this little hump of earth here as cover from their incoming fire. However, I'm not thinking about their likely course of advance, which will be to my right, which means I will have no cover to say that Sherman right over there. He lays a shot right in on top of me and sets me on fire, and before I can do anything about it, the second shot comes in and finishes me off. And that's really my own fault. It was silly to put myself on that side of the ridge. I should have stayed at the top and just poked my turret over the top like that other Sherman did that just took me out. He played it smart, and I didn't, and paid the price. However, this is a great opportunity to jump into the star of our show this time around, the M24 Chaffee. Now, unlike its direct predecessor in the American tank tree line, the Locust, the Chaffee, well, they're both light tanks, but the difference is night and day. The Locust, while it's a hysterical tank to run around in, it goes like a bat out of hell. It bounces all over the battleground, but it has very, very little control. It's gotten me killed more times than I can count because it will slew to one side or the other, or bounce in the wrong direction on its very, very bouncy suspension. The Chaffee is a different beast entirely. I'm going to approach this KV-1, and I am confident in the fact that I will have nearly complete control over this tank. He's turning to look at me, so I've got to get moving right now. It's my only hope of survival. I have no armor to speak of. I'll take a hit in the rear panel there and have taken some damage. I can't fire right off the bat, but I'm moving a little too fast for him to draw a bead on, and he misses his second shot. As I swing down here, there's people on the ridge to the right. There's a T-34 right there, slugging it out with some of my teammates, and I rush my next couple of shots there, that one and this next one a little bit, just because I'm feeling the stress at the moment, but well, and so is that tree. Or not, depending on what the game engine decides. Anyway, I decide to take my time and start slapping shots in. I can easily beat the traverse rate on his turret and finally shoot a critical hole right through his, the side of his tank. And he's going to be in serious trouble. And while I'm at it, I'll do the same thing to the T-34 as I continue to orbit the KV-1. The KV-1 is pretty jacked up right now, and I start to swing around again and realize at the last moment that his gun is pointed in the direction I'm heading, so I cut inside and my teammates finish him off. And it works out pretty well. The T-34 that I put around into is also burning. I get a kill in this mix somewhere, and I don't remember if it's the T-34 or not, but anyway, he's gone. We've got the capture point well in hand, and the KV-1 has been mercifully put to rest. Now, as I said, though, the Chaffee, it's a great tank, a very controllable, fast tank. It does have some weaknesses you must be aware of. The most obvious one is its lack of armor. what armor it has is well angled, and it will occasionally save your life, but you certainly can't depend on that. It has another weakness that I'm going to get into here in just a little bit. Oh, if I had been just a second quicker, I would have taken that bomb right in the teeth. Everyone on the battlefield seems bound and determined to kill me right now. Dropping bombs on me. There's artillery bombardments that are coming in all around me at this point in time. But I just keep going until I meet my nemesis, another Chaffee. And I make another mistake here. I should have rammed him, and I didn't do it. Instead, I tried to pull to the side and get stopped, which put me right in front of him, and he rammed me. But the match was over. He didn't kill me, and we won easily. So I don't feel too bad about that. Now this next match, it's an arcade match as well. It's on Poland. This is a totally different environment for the Chaffee to operate in. A city environment. In the confines of a town, you can't exercise the extreme speed that the Chaffee has at its disposal. I perhaps should have swung around to the right and utilized the more open terrain there on the north side of the town, but it's very open there, and there's no cover at all for me to make use of. So instead, I've ducked into the city streets, and I'm jammed up behind fellow tanks, and I have very little room to maneuver and no way to maximize my speed. It's not an ideal environment for the Chaffee. Well, at least you would think it's not an ideal environment for the Chaffee. It's not as bad as it first appears. As long as you don't get so boxed in you can't move at all. And avoid your teammates, like I should have done here. I didn't know that guy was going to turn a U-turn right there. Let me get out of his way. But fighting in a city environment really brings out another strength of the Chaffee, where in-close maneuvers become very important as well. It's got enough armor to break through these heavy walls without taking any damage, and that's nice. It's a little heavier build than some of the other light tanks. But as we get up here and start closing with the enemy, this feature that I wasn't aware of at the time comes into play. I poke my nose out, I see targets. Well, KV-2, that's bad news among other things over there. So I'm going to snap a shot in and take some return fire, and I have a remarkably quick reverse speed. And that's the strength of the Chaffee fighting in town. You can get out of trouble almost as fast as you can get into it. So you can poke your nose out, you can snap off a quick shot, the gun's pretty quick to get pointed in the right direction, and then you can back out of there really, really, really quickly. Now I'm loitering here, and I shouldn't have done it. I took a hit there that I didn't need to take, but my armor did save me in that particular situation. So I'm going to pull out of there and relocate to another area. I'm not sure if that T-34 is going to be trying to come up this road over here, so I'm going to cautiously explore and do a little scouting and see if he's about to run down this road. I pull out straight because I'm planning on reversing straight back with no maneuvering involved if I saw an enemy tank down here, but I don't. So I'm going to continue on down here and start pushing forward. Now I've got a pile of rubble that I can use. I'm going to snap a shot in over it and then pull back behind cover. There's a lot of fire going back and forth. And I've got people, unfortunately, in front of me that I don't have great cover for. It's on the other side of that ridge. And there's that KV-1. I get hit and messed up. KV-1, fortunately, is more interested in shooting at people to my right, and they are going to take him out. But other enemy tanks are shooting at me, too. So I'm going to hug this wall, and I can't get my turret to move. The turret ring on a Chaffee is one of its greatest weak points. While it won't necessarily kill you, I can't tell you how many times my turret ring has gotten stuck in some awkward position like this, really making life difficult for the rest of the match. Now at this point I don't have repair parts, I don't have fire extinguishers or anything like that, so I'm stuck with this angle this weird angle to my gun, and I'm just going to have to make the best of it. And I decide, well, you know, I can maybe get it lined up here and get in a shot anyway. I'm going to discover, actually, that if you're in this position with the Chaffee, you're kind of better off getting your gun on target by finding a good angle and reversing back and forth quickly in a straight line to get it lined up, rather than trying to turn the tank. It's actually got pretty good control turning back and forth, but getting it spot on target that way is extremely tough. But it's a lot easier to control your angle by just simply moving forward and backward at an angle. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. Now you might say, R1, why didn't you just jump into another tank? And a lot of people would say, because I enjoy the challenge, which of course is just an excuse to cover up the fact that you're too stubborn to use common sense. But sometimes it pays off. I just got a critical hit on that guy. So I'm going to back it up, and I'm not going to try and turn the... Well, I'll try and turn the tank. That doesn't work. So we'll aim by pushing forward, slapping in another shot, backing up to get out of incoming fire from the left. Oh, and I've actually bumped it right into a pretty good position for a shot right there. Hit him again. Well, I get a kill assist out of it. That's not too bad. All right, well, I'm in a crippled Chaffee. The logical thing to do would, of course, be to push forward from this point. I like to tell myself things like that. It makes me feel better. So, handicapped as I am, I advance upon the enemy and immediately see a T-34 to my left. I know I'm in big trouble. So I'm going to... no, don't turn. Just move forward until he's in line and... I am so lucky. I got him with one shot. That would never happen again in a million years. But I'm not going to complain about it. My luck has been pretty good so far this match. But unfortunately, as I look to my right, I realize that it's probably just about to run out. My team is moving forward and heavily engaged ahead of me. I'm going to try and move forward in support. But that was probably a bad move. I get in one good shot, but then I take a hit that immobilizes me completely. And there's a BT-5. He's a one-shot kill. If only I could move, but I can't move. I can't do a thing except sit here, get caught on fire, and eventually get blown up. But that's all right. This little crippled Chaffee, I think, did a great job. I couldn't have expected any more out of the tank. And it proved that even in a city environment, it can be survivable, and it can contribute to the team. I'll jump in this other M4 here, the 105, but the match is going to end before I can get back into it. And that's okay. It was actually pretty good and fairly educational for me. I hadn't had, at this point, any real experience with the Chaffee at all, and it frankly, even though I got myself into a bad situation with it, it impressed me. And I think I'm going to really enjoy playing that tank. Controlled speed, it's a wonderful thing. Well, that's all I've got for you for today. Until I see you again, good hunting.